Braxton.
Damn it, don't you take my thunder. What?
We're free.
Yes, we are. Free from what?
We finished that. Well, I mean, I guess we haven't finished Unearthed
It's
Arcana,
never
but
done.
we've tossed in the trash, lit a fire upon it, and then sent it to the 9 hells.
9 hells. Yeah, it's done out there in the ether of our podcast. I think, how many episodes in a row did we have?
Too
Let
many.
me look at this. I think it was like...
I mean, we had little breaks in
6?
between.
We did.
But, I mean...
But those weren't D&D, Ryan.
True.
Think about that. Let me pull this up. Let me see. Oh, look at us.
We've been doing it since November 19th. That was the first one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's been a couple months.
We did 7 episodes.
Yeah.
It was a nice little...
I'm sure we'll go back to it at some point.
I mean, yeah, but, you know, as the topic comes up...
It's time we set it aside.
Capitalize on that. But yeah, we've got something fun for today. Before we get into
Super
that,
fun.
Ryan...
What?
How was your week? Do you have anything cool
You know, it's
going on?
funny. I was going to start with the podcast asking you the same thing.
You took my thunder, I gotta take yours.
That's so weird. It's been good. We started watching Vinland Saga last week, I think, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because Braxton's already finished it.
I have finished it.
And which I assume means he really liked it.
If you want an idea how to write a good villain,
Oh, I like good villains.
watch this show.
Mm.
There's many, many other reasons to watch it. Of course, it's not perfect, but
Yeah.
this one character that they have in it, he just blurs the line between hero and villain, and not because he is one or the other, but usually you have a clear perspective of like, hey, this is my perspective of the main character. That's my idea of the main villain. But for a lot of it, you follow this terrible, terrible guy, and sometimes you get so involved in his goals and ideals and you get really invested in him only
Sure.
to realize how shitty of a person he is.
Yeah, I think that's, I
again.
mean, it's like, I don't know, you probably never watched it, but Breaking Bad, similar, where the main character's this terrible guy, but everyone ends up rooting for him, and then he does these horrible events and things. You're like, why am I still rooting for this guy? But I want him to win. But
That's
I also
exactly
want
what
the other
happens.
guys to win, too, because they're just getting abused.
Yeah, and I was not expecting to get emotional at the end of this, but I cried.
Yeah, I got a message from Braxton like 5 a.m. saying, you have to watch it. It's so good.
And he's like, would I have to finish Demon Slayer? I'm
do.
like, bruh, then finish it.
I will. Don't worry. I'm going to continue this week.
Well, I was going to use a segue of, speaking of slaying demons, but, you know, I also had another thing that was fun that happened.
Yeah, what else
Thanks for
happened?
asking. I went to see the Near
That's
Automata concert
Yeah.
on Friday, their premiere show in Chicago.
Which is, for those who don't know, one of Braxton and I's favorite game.
of all time.
Super good.
I
And
also
the music
started
is
my
unreal.
people were crying.
Yeah.
Ryan, let me
So
tell
just
you.
like
But
listen
I
to these
also-
emotional tunes, and like behind you hear,
I've been falling asleep to the soundtrack over the past couple of days now.
oh yeah?
Also on Spotify, if you go on the playlist radio for that thing,
Mhm.
like you listen to all the songs, or you just like playlist radio, it's got some good tracks.
Did you know that they only added to Spotify super recently?
Yeah, January something.
Yeah, because I had
So,
downloaded it
Shit.
on my PC beforehand. So a lot of them, I just had a lot of Japanese tracks. I didn't even know what they were called.
Now you can cry to, I think it's either Kaide's Redemption or not, something like that. Kaine. I messed up all of that. It's okay. Or Way to the World and cry on
Yeah.
your own time. Good time. Okay. Well, that's what I did. Without further ado.
And you started your new job too.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Technically. Working right now still.
He's
I work
on
from home
the
100%
clock.
of the time. Not really, but I kind of am. But also not. But this is also kind of my job. If you think about it, right?
What, podcasting?
Yeah, we don't get money from it, but
No.
I enjoy it, and I do. I put some effort in. We put some extra effort in this week, too, because we're doing something we never done before.
Yeah. We're
Not that
competing.
we've done everything.
See
we're
who can make
competing.
the best list here of starting creatures.
I didn't know this was a competition.
Well, now you know.
I mean, are we betting anything?
No.
This
Just
is
our
not a
pride.
competition, then. Okay, maybe now it's a competition.
Who's the best starting DM? Who can DM the first couple levels the best?
Well, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I think my first one here is going to be much better than yours.
I don't know. What if it's the same one?
It could very well be, but considering you, it's very likely not.
Interesting. Now, I got a question before we... Yeah. So, hold on. We're the Dungeon Crawl. I'm Ryan. That's Braxton. We do D&D related stuff every so often. Mm-hmm. Yada, not important. What is important, though, I want to guess what your first monster is. I want you to guess what my first monster is.
Do you know how many monsters there are in existence?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I think yours is a Mind Flayer. Got him.
Okay, maybe I'll start with that one because it is one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So now, Ron.
So is yours
all of you out there?
Is yours not in like a top 5 list? Just you just have 5 monsters?
No, just have 5 monsters.
Okay, mine's in a top 5.
Okay, sorry for throwing it off there, but I mean, you kind of got me.
I pulled that on my booty. I did not. I honestly didn't think you grabbed one.
I like Mind Flayers.
Yeah, but for starting levels.
Okay, well, yeah. Let's start this on the flip side. Why do you think that's weird? You say starting levels. What do you mean?
Because that would kill the starting party.
Well, yes and no.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you could totally use a Mind Flayer without killing the party. Do you even know what they can do?
Yeah, they can do a lot of things. You could extract a level 1 party member's brain without even trying.
Yeah, but they can do that to other things and control their wills and minds and dominate them.
Yeah, but then I would argue that that's not using them as a first. That's using a different creature and alluding to them later.
I know. But I wanted to put these guys on here just because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much
tell me how you
control.
Would use them.
Well, you can have them control. Like, if you were going to use goblins and you're like dead set on wanting to use goblins, screw that shit. They're actually not headed by some sort of hobgoblin or something even stronger down the line, but a Mind Flayer that is using them to do their bidding in this land.
Okay.
Think about that. Your party would be like, excuse me, though, these guys are challenge rating 7. If you go by that, they will destroy your party.
Yeah, if you have them fight the party, then yes. But you could argue you could do it in a similar vein as Strahd from Curse of Strahd, where he meets the party and is in combat with them, but isn't showing his full force and is just kind of toying with them.
And you can...
I don't know if a Mind
Flayer
would do that.
The player's handbook, you can absolutely tweak these guys. Maybe you can make like a fledgling Mind Flayer.
True.
That's like challenge rating 3, and you remove some abilities or make them weaker.
My only worry with that, for a creature that because I love the Mind Flayers, as I'm sure you can, in our brief encounter with them, and I'm pretty sure I alluded to them from the first session, where the quest, like there was something weird going down south. That's how you go. If you go do that, you can. Yeah, and that was one of the first things the party ever heard, and it was Mind Flayers doing weird stuff. But my worry about tweaking a cool monster like this to make it weaker is then...
Because you can't use it. It's not as cool later.
Yeah, it doesn't blow your party's mind. But then I guess it could because they have new abilities. I don't know. It's a tough balance.
Yeah, I put it on here simply because I loved it. And you think about any monster we use, put in parentheses, Mind Flayer could be controlling this.
True.
It's silly and maybe not so helpful, but that's my one, kind of joke.
They do have preferences, and at some point, this is possibly going to lead into other podcast episodes where we dive into these creatures' thoughts and abilities longer.
Oh man, I don't know if we could dive into a Mind Flayer's thought. It'd be kind of tough to do that.
Oh, we can do it.
It might turn around on us, and then we'd become the Mind Flayer cast. Because
I'd be happy to be consumed by an elder brain. And I have no will of my own, and I have no more worries.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was the case right now.
Could be.
Do you even know this guy's stats? Like,
what,
we shouldn't really go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, because he's a big boy.
He's a cool guy.
And it's probably going to be the big bad thing of the new Baldur's Gate game.
Definitely, very much likely so.
At least going to be
guys up.
The intro.
Yeah, they're cool boys.
If you want to know more about Mind Flayers, besides just reading a boring stat block, go watch the trailer for Baldur's Gate 3. Super cool.
Oh, there's even a variant here. So I want to preface this whole episode here saying that I don't think people read this thing.
The monster manual? No.
The official, no, nobody does.
But now,
Why
do
does everybody
think
use
players
goblins?
should, or is it just a DM thing?
Oh, that's rough. That's a tough question. If you know you can hold yourself accountable to not metagame, I think you should read it.
So definitely people out there that just study this thing, and then when it pops up in game, like, I know exactly what this is.
Yeah. So it can be tough. I'd say more so yes than no, but there could be a lot of people that will metagame and say, oh, I know, because I've done that. Or that's at least I think it.
If I want to reduce them like that, I'd play a hunter. Is it ranger or hunter? God dang it, dude. It's a hunter. Ranger. Damn it.
You get their one.
Yeah, it's the same idea. That's why I like playing that class, because they have the favorite enemy and the favorite stuff. So I would know, like, if my favorite enemy is a mind flayer, then I would know about it. I can talk about it.
So, okay. If you wanted to ask me any questions about this guy, you could, but I think this being my kind of jokey one, we don't have to dive into it too much. I'm also just kind of biding time to figure out what I should guess for yours.
Well, how early of a level would you introduce these guys, do you think?
I wouldn't. Oh, Mind Flayer, maybe they would see it?
Because even when you guys fought him at, what, like level 7?
Which is what their challenge rating is.
Yeah, but the CR challenge rating doesn't really match up to levels. It's really weird how that stuff works. But I think you were level 7 when you guys fought him. Maybe
something like that.
Some of them around there. Even still, you guys got battered.
Good idea by looking at abilities and how your party's HP is.
Yeah, and there are, I think, like a table at the beginning of the Monster Manual, or at least in the Dungeon Master's Guide, on to help you create encounters and make them balanced.
Yeah.
But again, as we discussed, CR is not always the best way, because there's some really low CR things that just punch way above their challenge rating.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is an extreme example with the Mind Flayer, but imagine you've got like a level 5 party and they have somewhere between like 20 or like an average of maybe 30 hit points altogether. This guy does 10d10 with his extract brain thing. The biggest 7 to hit.
The biggest way I like using this guy is the way I used it in our game was they were going underground, and like, so we're not going to go too in depth on these things, but just maybe a quick way you could use this guy is not really even show the party this thing exists, have it hiding somewhere, and then dominate one of the most powerful party members. And I dominated one of the ones who had Fireball and other, fun abilities like that. And they sort of know what was going on. They just knew that they lost control of one of their friends. And I started having her hurl terrible things at luckily, I think she ran out of spells at one point. Luckily it didn't really kill the party, but eventually once the person was not being as useful, that's when the Mind Flayer showed themselves. And they were like, oh, we need to leave now.
You mean Mind Flayers?
Well, those came later. But yes.
Ryan's an evil DM.
Well, no, because Mind Flayers are a hive mind. They all can speak to each other at all times.
Okay. So they're kind of
like, at least within a certain amount of
feet. Stronger.
Yeah. Scary stuff. Okay.
So I'm looking. Did you use some from the Monster Manual?
Yes, all of them. All the things I use are at least in the Monster Manual. See if you can guess my number one.
Your number one?
Yeah. What? Or should I start at the bottom and work up to the best one? I think.
You can start wherever.
Let's start at the bottom. That makes more sense.
Okay.
Make people listen to the end.
I don't think you'd pick gnolls or hags.
Okay.
Because we already talked about those boys and girls.
Yeah. I also do have a runner-up list too.
Lizard folk.
They're actually not. They're on my runner-up list.
Yeah, I got something.
They are. So I had them just basically listed as their great early jungle level monsters. So if you want to do something in jungle, boom, there you go. Use some lizard folk.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you did a top 5. I just kind of grabbed 5.
Yeah, so since you went one, I'll go with my bottom 5. My number 5 on my list. Gobbos, all sorts of gobbos. Goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears, just everything in the goblinoid what's the list, the goblinoid conjunction, you know what I'm trying to say. I think they're all good for, it's stereotypical to use goblins, but they're stereotypical for a reason.
Yeah.
They're very easy to go down. They're pretty fun to play. That's actually what we started our most recent campaign on, was these goblins. You can introduce them in many different ways, and you can also have them like working for somebody, or maybe they're smarter than they normally should be, and so that's something to keep in. Obviously, they're listening to somebody, but why would these goblins be listening to somebody? Obviously, there's something else going on. So it's a good way to allude to other things, or you can just have them be fun goblins as a introduce the party altogether.
Yeah. Okay. So, wait, did I completely miss what your actual one was, or were we just talking about?
Yeah, you can. That was on my runner-up list. One that didn't make it. That's fine.
Let's get one of your real ones.
That was Goblins was number 5.
You picked.
Yeah.
Did you miss the whole point of this?
What do you mean? What's the whole point of this?
We want to get them out of goblins.
No, the whole.
There ain't no goblins. When you get a DM and he's like, I'm gonna do a campaign.
That's why it's number. That's why it's number 5. It's not all the way up there, but I think they're. I think they're so easy to be used that they're underutilized. If that makes sense. I don't think they are used to their full extent.
Ryan wants to do a reconstruction of the goblin trope.
Well, there's a whole section in Volo's guide that just it talks about them being the conquering host. That there's this whole expanse to them that I think it's not being touched on as much as it should be. They're usually just portrayed as the idiot starting creature, and granted they are, but there's more to it.
Yeah. Okay. You caught me by surprise. Wasn't expecting you to do that.
What do you mean?
One of my title ideas for this episode was monster used to use outside of goblins or something like that.
I asked you, should we not use goblins? You said, no, that's all right.
When did I say that?
I said, should we stay away from the stereotypical creatures? And you said, no, that's fine. He said it. It's his fault.
I slightly remember saying that.
Yeah, I have it right here.
A little bit.
Should we try and avoid the stereotypical ones? And he said, up to you.
Control F is the devil to all.
I even said, as in no gobos ? He said, anything goes.
Remember, friends, it's not about holding people accountable for their words, but about forgetting things they said so they can get away with stuff.
Yeah. In all honesty, though, I do think goblins are good. I mean, we started our campaign with goblins. What'd you think?
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, you thought it was all right.
It was all right.
Yeah.
A little run the mill.
Little run of the mill, he says.
Yeah, I don't think there was a mill. We had a glassworks.
Yeah, but it led to some cool things.
You used them as a stepping stone.
Yes, and a lot of stuff that introduced is still being touched upon.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ryan's like, yes.
Yes, it is.
It has. I've written this.
Yeah. I think no matter what monster you choose, dear listener, it should have something to do with the greater storyline. But don't make it super obvious, because you don't want it to be all about this one thing from day one. Have it introduce it, and then have it, allude to something that isn't touched on for another month or so.
Okay. So I've mentally reordered my list.
Okay, so now you have a top list?
Yes.
Where was Mind Flayers on that number 5 now?
We'll make them number 5 just because they're not actually. Yeah. Do you want to take another guess at one of mine?
No, let's just go up your list. Let's start 4 now, then we'll do it back and forth.
Okay. So you're gonna laugh at me because we just talked about another sort of these things, but because one of my favorite anime of all time is based off of the dichotomy between a community of sea people and land people, I think you could make a really interesting dynamic between a town and merfolk.
What anime is this?
A community of merfolk that lives close enough to a town that they either are warring or involved with each other in some way.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but just straight merfolk or the Sahuagin or
well, in the monster manual you have merfolk just flat out right here. So
yeah, but there's another, or Marrow is also the other one, because merfolk, Marrow is kind of like the evil version of merfolk, and Sahuagin is even the more evil version. So they're all evil. They're all a little bit different. They're all kind of the same but different. They're really weird.
Well, with how that show is, I wouldn't want them to be necessarily evil. It even says they're neutral here. And then, of course, with how I would want to lead into another creature, it would definitely end up being sort of evil. But I think it could be cool to use merfolk because this anime, and it's a very Japanese-sounding title, so my apologies, but Nagi no Asakara, or a lull in the deep.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time, and it's about at some point everybody lived underwater, but people left that civilization and went on land and were forsaken by the sea people gods. So now there's people live on land and people live in the ocean.
Sure.
Conflict, discrimination, blah blah blah. I just think it could be cool to have your party start off on land or come up to a town that has recently been having problems with aggressive merfolk, and traditionally they haven't been this way. So they want you to start maybe investigating and get to the bottom of why these merfolk are now attacking the people on the land.
Yeah.
People
What
in their boats.
What would you lead that up to? Like, what would you? Well,
directly below you've got Marrow.
Yeah.
And those are people of the abyssal plane, they are chaotic evil, so they are bad boys, but they are transformed merfolk, as it's listed here. So they're from they found an idol of Demogorgon at the bottom of the sea. So they transformed into this and brought it to their king. So it made them kind of influenced by the abyss. So maybe that's what's causing all of your merfolk to kind of freak out, and influence of the abyss.
Yes, like maybe they had so one of the merfolk dudes found it, and they had a splitting of the city of the culture, and so the normal dudes are kind of fleeing away from that city and encroaching on human territory.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel when I hear of Goblin, I'm like, there can't be anything weaker than this. But these merfolk aren't strong at all.
No, they aren't.
Like that's always my fear in picking other monsters. Like, aren't they just gonna wreck my party members, my team?
Yeah, I think that's another worry with early level things is you want to make sure there's enough things that the creatures can do, because just looking like the merfolk just have a spear attack. I would, and the goblins just have a scimitar or a short bow. Granted, they also have the nimble escape ability, but I would also go into their stat block and read more about them and try to find extra things that they could do that you could add to their stat block and maybe make offshoots of the merfolk. So you see like there's a stronger merfolk or there's a weaker one. There's things that
definitely
one
don't
that has
just
a net.
stick with what the monster manual has. There's so much out there.
Yeah.
And I would love to dive into merfolk as a whole, going into more abyssal creatures.
We could even do an underwater one talking about the marrow
Under
and
the sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could even run the Little Mermaid one shot.
That'd be fun.
You'd probably take more than a one shot. I don't know.
That depends on what you're doing.
Depends on what you're doing. But Ryan, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a little more general.
Even
It's
more than merfolk or goblin?
yes, because those are, you could point to a spot in the monster manual and say, this is a goblin, that's a merfolk, here's the stat block. Mine is just general undead. Skeletons, and I have parentheses skeletons / zombies, but there are other things that, other undead creatures that you could have, like a crawling crawl or
Undead
crawling
goblin.
hand. Crawling, it's called something like that, right? Crawling claw. Yeah, I knew it was crawling. That it's just a mouthful to say.
It's a whole litany of things you could do.
Yeah, so just, general undead. It's good early dark stuff. So you like running a dark campaign, have that. You can lead to necromancy going on down the line. All the bodies are disappearing from the graveyard. What's going on? There's some dude resurrecting stuff. Boom. And you can even lead up to some of these stronger undead like ghouls and ghasts and shadows and specters and all that spooky stuff.
Hell, you've got a party member that wants to be a sort of necromancer guy. Have him be a part of it and want to leave him for a bit. That's how he joined the party. So cool. But yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah. Even more general, Ryan. Still kind of basic there. Still basic.
What do you mean? What's basic?
I want some spice, Ryan.
Spice?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think about it, you could take a hand, one of the crawling crawls, and add some spices to it. Toss it in a little hag pot and mix it around. Make a new entity, hob thing. I don't know.
Or you could put the hand in there literally, and as an interaction, if the party member is curious enough and they start looking in the pot, the hand grabs them on the face like a face hugger from Alien.
Spooky.
And you got to fight it and kill it. And
Yeah.
then you're like, what the heckers, man? And you got to kill a hand that's on your face.
Ah.
Then you look like Shigaraki from My Hero Academia.
No one's seen that.
Everyone's seen that.
Oh.
Okay.
Undead can lead to cool late game stuff too, though. So.
Oh yeah, you could. I mean, yeah,
Like for example, I think the Necromancer itself is like a CR8 or something. Probably just because of their spells.
What the heckers? That's like a Mind Flare, but 1 level up.
Sorry, they're CR9.
That's 2 levels up. I correct myself.
Because they have some pretty scary spells.
Scary spells. They'll bring you back to life. I wonder if there's ever... No, there's definitely been a time where a Necromancer's killed a party member and brought them back.
Yeah, but you won't be yourself.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. That's it. Is that what you got? Is that your number 4?
Yeah, what do you think? Huh? You like it?
I think it's good. Yeah. You can do a lot of stuff with that. I want to see what your spicy your top 3s are.
Okay.
Got to do my number.
Yeah, what's your number?
3.
3.
Right?
Yeah.
3.
You did 4.
Let me look here. I really like these things that I found.
Okay.
And they're called methods.
Oh, methods?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me what you like about them.
They're from the frickin' plains, and there's a ton of them. You could do so many things with these guys, and they could lead to so many other things. They're also kind of dicks.
Yeah, to me, they've always been kind of boring.
Yeah, but you could make goblins, undead. Ryan, talk about boring.
Yeah, methods though, man. Just think the name itself, a method.
They're elemental sprites.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You know what that could go to?
What?
Cool things.
Speaking of general, what cool things? Well, tell me.
Well, you got like a magma method. Maybe he's from one of the planes of hell, and it eventually leads to like a lesser devil
probably
or
more so
fiend.
from the plane of fire.
Well, same thing.
That is not the same thing. How dare you, Mr.
How
Tiefling? How dare you?
No, I don't do that. But I don't know. I think you could add these guys to almost anything, which would be real fun. And like I was reading something, and yeah, they're elementals and kind of sprite-like, which are kind of connected with mischievous happenings, but they really just kind of like fucking people up and hurting them primarily. Like that's their biggest goal. And what I like about these guys is you say they're boring, but I think they can add a nice twist to combat that's not just whack whack.
True.
You can have a learning curve when fighting these guys, because I think all of them have death burst, which makes your players, if they've not played D&D much, they realize, okay, monsters have other things about them. And hell, even I think they all have false appearance as well. They can hide. No, they don't all have false appearance. Let me see. Some of them do. So for the mud method, it can hide if it remains motionless. You cannot distinguish it from just a mud on the ground. There's so many interesting little things you could do with these guys. But they also have immunity, so that teaches your players that, you're going to have to think about what spells you're using. The spells you pick, it doesn't just matter what they do, but maybe using fire all the time is not that great.
All right.
I think they're great for teaching your players that monsters have more depth.
You would mix them all together?
I mean, you could. Maybe you've got somebody that's trying to, your big bad's trying to mix the planes together, or your world is kind of fucked up right now and the planes are leaking between each other. This could be the first evidence of that.
At least the elemental planes.
Yeah. So why are the elemental planes leaking? Why is there a steam and a smoke method fighting together right now? What is going on? Why is this magma one here as well?
And they all do have their own little quirks about them too.
Yeah. I think they could be really cool.
Yeah.
I like them.
What would you lead? So you lead to having some guy trying to open up the planes?
Yeah. Like
all of them?
Out.
All planes? That's terrible.
All planes. All of them.
I don't know. All right. You've kind of swayed me over.
Yay. I can kind of tell by your voice. All right. Let's go for your numero 3.
Numero 3? Well.
What do you got?
The always awesome. The always badass.
Oh, shit.
The always green.
There's no.
Orcs.
Okay. Whew. Man, I thought you were gonna go outside the box here.
Well, again, I think orcs are similar to goblins, not as appreciated as I think they should be.
All right, Ryan's gonna show you the magic of the guys that you're using, but not well enough. I'll give you the spice.
First of all, why not? They're orcs, right?
Yeah.
Would that be a good pitch? I mean, why not?
No.
How about you buy my computer? Because, I mean, why not? Right? It can also lead to farther adventures. Because do you know what a Tanaruk is?
Nope.
So a Tanaruk is a orc that has been corrupted by the Abyss. And they are a little higher level CR, but they could be the first boss battle that your party encounters at like level 2 or 3. And you're bringing this orc tribe around, and for some reason the party discovers this guy is corrupted by the Abyss. What's going on here? Is there a tear within the Abyss around here? That's odd. And you could also have them. So say the first quest is to go quell some of these orc tribes that are encroaching on some of what we were talking about with the Marrow and the merfolk stuff that they're quelling. You're sending your party to go quell some orc tribes that are getting a little too close and personal to some humans, which is odd because they normally stay on the other side of the mountain. What's going on? Why are they coming over here? So maybe the orc tribes are running from something just a little bit more dangerous than themselves. Sending you. So if you haven't figured out yet, and I'm sure Braxton has, but those of you that don't play with me, I love creating kind of gray areas here.
That's what I was going to bring up. Orcs are not technically just monsters. They're a civilization. They're people.
Yeah, so if they're running from something, they're not inherently bad people. There's something. So if the party decides to instead killing them, talking with them, they'll be the first ones to say, "There is something behind us coming. Run before it consumes you." Then the party will be like, "What the hell is going on? Let's go check that out." Maybe make up say, "Hey, if we go clear out this area, maybe you guys can come back and leave our friends alone for the time being."
Hell, a lot of players decide to either have their character hate orcs or be a half orc.
Yeah.
So right there, that adds a lot of conflict and gray area for those of you that like
Could
that.
be some good RP, seeing what's up.
I forgot about that, but you reminded me.
As a DM, always introduce tough decisions.
Always. Never just say 1 + 1. It's too wrong. I don't know what I was going with that.
No, that math seemed to add up to me.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to think outside the box, Ryan. Sometimes you got to look at the box. It's got the gobos and the orcos and the necros, and you got to look outside of it.
Grab the tiefling by the horns.
You got to pick those modrons.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. Do you know what a modron is?
Explain.
They're little robot dudes, little tiny constructs, little drones.
Yeah, you like those guys?
They're cute boys. I like them, and I think you could do like very similar with the methods that I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They're so freaking weird here.
Yeah, weird.
So I mean, you start off and you've got a little sphere guy. He's a mono drone. He's your weak boy. He's your regular goblin, if you could compare it that way. But all of these things, I mean, they are things of law and order, as the monster manual says, and they only communicate between each of their own ranks immediate and the ones immediately above and below them. So they don't talk to any of the ones that are 2 levels above or 2 levels. It's such an interesting, I guess, design. And I don't, when I think about these guys, I imagine the dwarves from Skyrim. Like, imagine
everything comes back to Skyrim.
Everything comes back to Skyrim. With these guys, imagine your big bad for them is somebody that's constructing these to do his bidding, which could be interesting.
Yeah, I was about to have to get to that. So for this to exist in someone's world, there has to be this kind of mechanical nature to it, this clockwork type of stuff going on.
So if you're wanting to introduce that, these guys could be a good conduit for that.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily bad either.
No, cute little dudes. They're just cogs of the great machine.
I think they're all neutral.
Lawful neutral.
Okay.
And then you can go to the duodrone and the tridrone, which I think each kind of go up Like they double in challenge rating and CR. They get a bit stronger each time, or a different weapon or something else to use, different stats. Keep going, Quadrone, Pentadrone. The Pentadrone's wonky boy. He looks really creepy. I don't
Now,
like
correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I read about these Modrons, but aren't they from another plane as well?
We're gonna release a planar book soon. It's okay.
Oh, are they? Is what? Yes, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I guess you also have maybe there's some guy visited this plane of I don't know what the plane's called. This other weird plane, and I don't know. There's some leader with them. I don't know. I guess it could be kind of cool.
Could be cool. I like them. They're cute and they're weird looking, and you can have so much fun describing them and having them just kind of march over. Like, what the hell? Like, yeah, adventures. You didn't see the marching of the mechanical eyeballs. I've never seen anything like this before.
It's like Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, it could be so fun. Imagine walking into a manor after fighting like a ragtag group of these things, and you get in, and it's just this steampunk looking whatchamajig of a mansion where you got these little worker dudes running around.
So I think the only way you can fight these guys though is there has to be like some cog in the machine, something that's gone wrong with them, because they're not bad guys. They follow something, right?
Yeah, they can follow anything as long as whatever that does tell them to do, because they are neutral.
Well, they follow. They have a leader. Yeah, here we go. They have the leader called Primus. Interesting. Yeah, I've never really delved into these guys. Very intriguing.
So take it this way. So Primus tries to keep order.
Right.
Which means if the evil outbalances the good, he wants to fix that or something else. But vice versa, he can still be your enemy as long as it's for the sake of balance.
Yeah.
So think about that.
I'm thinking about it. I don't know what I think.
I just think they're cute and I like them.
So Braxton shows his off of cute factor, I see. Interesting.
Are Mind Flayers cute? Ryan's going to say yes.
I don't know. I think you're trying to sway the people with cuteness.
Well, my number one's not cute, but
my next one's very cute.
What is it?
Well, I got to lead up to it. I can't just say what it is. So, drum roll, please. The next,
he does his own drum roll.
The next one that I have is number 2 on my list.
Numero dos.
Number 2 here. The cute offshoot of the terrifying fire-breathing creatures. These are the little kobolds. How cute, huh?
I feel like if I actually just thought about it enough, I could have guessed all of these.
Why is that?
I know you.
You know Goose? So the kobolds.
Tell me about kobolds.
Well, again, similar to my runner-up of the Sahuagin of great level underwater creatures, these are early mountain level adventure. Fantastic dudes. So if you want to do something that's not stereotypically like, we all meet at an inn and head off from the village, start off already in the mountain or in a mountain village at the very least. That's not just in, stereotypical fantasy wilderness. Have them go to a mine and there's traps set up everywhere. And this could be great because, as Braxton was saying with one of his, and I've already forgotten because that's how memorable his list was, how it can teach the player, especially if there's new players, what type of DM you are. You could have them learn about how to search for traps, how to, what different traps do. That it's important to not just wander on into places. You got to kind of prepare and look around because kobolds don't like fighting. They riddle their entire area with traps. It also can be cool to lead into some cool magical trinkets and stuff because kobolds love collecting things. Absolutely adore it. And I would recommend don't just look at the monster manual because there's only 2 of them there. There's a bunch of really cool ones in Volos, I believe, and definitely in the Kobold Press's Creature Codex and Tome of Beasts. There's some great kobolds in there too. And it can also lead to some dragon-y adventures. Or just bigger kobold adventures, like the Kobold Queen or Kobold Prince, whatever the hell. But if you want to make them even more interesting, that they're not just operating on their own, that they're working with someone. Or are they by themselves? Or is there something even more sinister going on in the mountain, huh? It could even could lead down to some Underdark stuff. Maybe there's Onkegs in there. Craziness.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put onkegs in here. I guess they're more of like an encounter.
Yeah, that's where I have a runner-up list. And before I hit my number one, I'll go down my runner-ups. There's some things on there that I think are great for just short quests, but not ones that I think can really bounce off and go deeper into.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you like kobolds? We actually were considering before we did this to do a whole episode just on kobolds. We might have to.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my number one.
Oh, you're looking at his number one. Well, do you have any other things you want to do before your number one comes out into play?
Maybe not.
Any last minute?
Well, this one's not necessarily in the same vein as Mind Flare, but it is a bit stronger.
Okay. I like strong.
But I'm sure you could make a smaller version of these, as they are in every game that has ever had one of these. There's always a smaller version of them. And Ryan, remember that thing I was talking about before?
Kind of. We started explain to the people.
Before we started the cast, I started the call with Ryan and I said, "You did this on purpose."
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought he was accusing me of something terrible.
You know what you did.
I don't know what I did.
I know what you did.
Like a mom. You know you did, son.
Do you like eyeballs?
Do I like eyeballs? I think I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you like singular eyeballs with like other eyeballs as tentacles and a big mouth?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean...
Do you know what a spectator is?
I do know what a spectator is.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So that's my number one.
That's your number one, a spectator. So, all right, explain to the people.
Okay, so a spectator is something that has been summoned by some sort of summoner, blah, 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 to protect a thing, a treasure, whatever, for 101 years. It will not, or it'll do its best to keep anything from entering the area or killing. It'll just protect this thing, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It has means to keep itself alive. It can create food and water. It's interesting because once it finishes its service, it can do whatever. It can leave. Yeah. It has been summoned. It's done its duty, but it often just takes up residence where it's stayed before, or may just go mad.
Yeah,
because it has no purpose anymore. So this thing is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot it can do.
Well, they're in the same family as beholders.
Yes. So be careful, but I'm 100% positive there's probably a weaker monster version out of here, like the singular eyeball. Think of like Enter the Gungeon. You had the whatever that thing was. What was that thing called?
Mm-mm.
Do you remember what that thing was? The gun hold?
I didn't make it that far, man.
Oh, well, it was like a level 1 or 2 boss.
I know.
But it could spawn little eyeballs that shot guns. So I'm sure you could make, smaller things out of here. But,
well, I mean, again, it's not a bad first party boss. So I think as a DM, you want to have a boss encounter thing at around probably level 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And this is a great one for that. But again, it's important. These are not inherently evil either, but you can have them being in the same area as a certain quest sends your party, and they just so happen to want to take something that the spectator claims as theirs, and then it starts an encounter.
And, little, what are those things called? Tidbits, I don't know, stuff, leads for your character, your players to run into. These things can paralyze people.
Yeah.
Or make them fear and run away or wound them. But that fear ray, maybe an adventurer gets out of there and you keep having these people that are slightly mad after meeting these spectators. Like, there's something that nobody can get to because this thing is protecting it. So your adventurer's like, we can do that.
Yeah. And if you're like me and have never really had a high level group, then this is a great way to satiate your beholder itch.
Yeah.
Because it's like a much weaker version, just with only 4 rays instead of like 6.
So maybe I could be wrong here. You said they're not inherently evil, but I was reading and I went to the languages and I saw deep speech.
They do have deep speech.
And I went, wait a minute. Ryan.
Yeah, but your guy speaks a different language.
It's based off the same thing.
Kinda, yeah. Similar-ish.
They have big eyeball.
They do have a couple big eyeballs.
I won't be surprised, Ryan. Let me just
But now I got a question for you.
Well, I may have an answer.
And for the this is gonna be super exciting for everyone who's not within our not playing in my game. Uh, what makes you think? So for people who are unaware, there's been a long Braxton's patron. He has this basically all he knows is this large eyeball. He's he's a warlock guy. He likes warlock things. And so that's why he's leaning towards a spectator. But why would you not lean towards a beholder? That's my question.
Oh, well, I do think it's a beholder. Yeah.
But that's a spectator. Gotcha.
Yeah,
so
spectator would be way too weak.
Yeah, I love beholders. I've never gotten to use them. I would love to use them at some point.
Wink, wink.
There's some really cool ones as well in Volo's guide as well. So I recommend to check those out. Now, beholders are ones I'd love to do a whole episode on because they are super hard to work into a game because they are inherently isolationist. They don't like
the spectator, if it finds another spectator, they will fight to the death.
Yeah, they beholders, even in the same family as spectator stuff, they do not like being around others of themselves because they get paranoid and think they're going to try to take over their stuff. But they're just super interesting concepts. They're going mad within themselves on the search and quest for knowledge, thinking they're better than everything else, while they're also, I don't know, and they like having their own dungeons, and they're super cool. I'd love to do a whole episode on beholders.
Yeah.
And then you got the ones when they find like they become a lich, and you got the death tyrant stuff. Oh man.
Super, super cool.
Super, super cool.
Oh, right below them are blights. Those could be cool.
I hate blights.
Oh.
I almost put down my runner-up list and I deleted them.
You hate blights?
They're so boring.
You just don't have enough creativity.
No, blights are they're just twigs come to life. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, I think why I have so much disdain for them is because let's say you're looking through some of the early modules, looking through Curse of Strahd, a lot of the creepy starter areas for a lot of these events and a lot of these modules are just throwing like 6 twig blights, 6 needle blights, or vine blights. It's like, come on! And that was before I was, comfortable with tweaking the module. Like, I can't change this module. That's how it is.
I'm surprised you don't feel that way about goblins or orcs.
No,
or
goblins are
things.
so much more interesting because they have thought processes to them. Blights are created by necromantic soil or by, crazy druids or something.
Undead things don't have thoughts unless undeads that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's why they at least are created and do these cool things and they can lead to stuff. Blights suck.
Blights maybe you're in like the forest and you're all elves and these blights are in the forest, blighting your forest. Cooler. I don't know. I think you're not thinking outside the box enough on these boys.
No, blights are a blight on my game is what they are.
Ryan's discriminatory against monsters.
I'll go down my list here, my ones that didn't make the cut. Okay.
All right.
I got animated objects. They could be cute and fun in combination with a haunted house that the party goes into. Not really something that you could bounce too far off of, but a fun little early level encounter. Got the on-kegs. They're not super low level friendly, but put a couple levels on your party, then you could start introducing some on-kegs.
No, they're not.
Yeah, you had
Speaking from experience, please don't interact with these if you're like below level 5.
But that's also good to introduce to the party. Don't fuck with everything. Be careful. Because pretty early on in our game, there was an on-keg and they went down into the cavern with it and more came out and basically...
Everybody out there is like, well, there's your problem. They went fucking into the nest.
Yeah, well, it turned into, oh my God, we got to run out of here. It was basically a run for your life encounter. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, imagine the Scooby-Doo running sound effect.
Yeah. I tossed in bullywugs. I think they're underutilized, but they also don't have too much to them. So that's why I was a little hesitant.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't even know what a bullywug is? How dare you? They're like these...
I know what a tiefling warlock is.
So, bullywugs are these like little swampy dudes. They're frogs.
Oh.
They have to stay constantly moist, and they're usually in
Don't use that word.
moist.
We just lost all of our audience.
Moist is a fun word. They're usually they're usually in things and jungles and swamps. The only interesting that I have about them is there's a section on them where it talks about the diplomacy. And instead of killing things, which is why I think they could be a fun early level creature, is that they don't kill, they capture and bring them back to their queen or their king and have like a whole, like almost like a little trial where the captives have to do something before they're let go.
That could be really cool.
Yeah. And so that's why I think they're cool, but not super fantastic. There's only one stat block for them. It doesn't go super in depth on bullywugs, but you could definitely have some fun with them.
All right. Okay.
Then I have the hags. I think they're a great early level boss. Not immediately, but you could allude to them early on. I mean, Curse of Strahd does that for a little bit with the bone grinder stuff. And I just love hags. You could buy their episode and listen to the hags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I got Kuatoa. And
I did see those.
You did see them? So the reason why I love the Kuatoa is because they are like Lovecraftian deep ones. They can kind of lead to something is happening underneath the surface of the water. They're these water dwelling creatures, more so shore like, but they do go into the water, and there's just so many of them. And if I recall, they are also connected to mind flayers, and they're used. So if you want to introduce mind flayers, like Braxton said, I'd use these guys first. Have them be a cool starting off that these guys are following the illithids, or they have at least maybe they've jumped away from the illithids, but they're still close enough that if the party investigates their dwellings long enough, they will find connections leading them in another direction. But they made the runner-up cut.
All right. I'm looking through these again to see if I can find the most basic one that you picked as your number one.
Then I got the lizard folk. I think they're cool. Great jungle early level guys. I don't know why I didn't pick them in my list, but
you put hags in there. I feel like you might have picked gnolls.
Hang on, we're not done yet.
Oh, come on.
Then my last one on my
did I get it?
Last one on my runner-up list is grungs. You know any grungs?
No.
You don't know any about grungs? Man, you don't like?
I know what tiefling warlocks are.
You don't like amphibians, do you? You had a problem with it.
You didn't
look. You only looked at the monster manual. That's why. I believe they're only in Volos.
Oh.
Grungs. So grungs are similar to the other guys that I mentioned before, the bullywugs. They're also just fun to say. Bullywug and grung. Grungs are much. Do you know what a poisonous frog looks like?
Yeah.
Like a jungle, like the small little guys that have like the green dots and stuff on them.
Yeah.
They're those, but come to life. And they have tribes, and they have their own area in the jungle. There's different variants. Why I like them? Because there's so many different variants of them depending on their color and what their poison does to a party member. They can introduce some very cool stuff. And I'd recommend looking a little bit deeper into them if you like, I want to do something in the jungle.
All right, now tell me about gnolls.
They are gnolls, yeah. I think they
God
are.
friggin' damn it.
Well, I think they're the best, dude.
We're supposed to pick.
You said anything goes.
I guess I did.
He did. He said anything went.
I looked and I saw it on the index and I went, oh, there it is.
Gnolls are. So after we did our episode on them, I mean, I knew I liked gnolls, and I haven't really brought them into our game too much at an early level. We brought them much later, and I think they're a lot harder to do at later levels, unless you bring in Flynns and stuff like that, or just send 100 of them at the party. But I think they're fantastic because I love dark stuff, and they can lead directly into abyssal adventures. And that's awesome. It's a good way to introduce early level demons because you could say that they've progressed long enough that they have connected with Yenogu and maybe he's sent some demons with them, or they've at least done so much damage to the population of a certain area that there's now a tear to the abyssal plane there. And so demons are starting to crawl out of it and seep into the world. And the party's got to go shut that shit down.
All right, so here we've had a good.
Go listen to our episode on it.
2 lists here. Ryan did a promotional list / practical list. I gave you some weird wonky monsters.
You did give some weird wonky monsters.
So there you go. I love that I guessed that.
They're really good, man.
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they are good.
We've talked about them.
We have talked about them.
Go listen to that episode.
Yeah, go listen to our Null episode. There, we got a lot more detail on them and tell you why they're so awesome.
If you, I'll tell you how to find the episode. It's got a really good joke for the title. Don't say it. It's a spoiler.
Okay, all right.
It's a spoiler. Look at us being on time today.
Yeah, we're pretty much on time.
Look at that. We're on time. We can waffle for 3 minutes and something seconds. Oh, wait. Actually, we started this recording a while ago. It was a bit longer.
A little bit, yeah. It's okay.
We were efficient. You got some new stuff. This should tell you to go out there and look at some monster.
Yeah, we might dive into these more, or maybe we could talk about some higher levels crazy stuff, or we could talk about some other stuff. I don't know. Our possibilities are endless, and we're done with Unearthed Arcana.
I mean, if you guys have a monster that you like, maybe I'll put a tweet out there and see if anybody wants to respond. But if you hear this episode, tell us what your favorite monster is, or what your favorite monster to start your parties out fighting on.
If it's a Tarrasque, you can get out of here.
Now, if you're picking a Tarrasque, are you starting level 20? What's going on there?
Well, I don't even think that's a fun level 20 fight. And there's so many more fun high level crap you could throw at a high level party besides a Tarrasque. It's just that's like if you got nothing else to do, okay, let's just toss this at him and see what happens.
I mean, yeah.
There's no real cool stuff to it.
But remember, this is a malleable game.
No, it's not. You
can change it.
What if the way I want to play?
What if that same necromancer messing with Ryan's stuff in his campaign, summoning those guys, somehow you killed a Tarrasque that was boring as shit, gets resummoned by maybe somebody from the Abyss or just this necromancer, and now you've got an undead Tarrasque. Make a new stat block. Make new things for this guy.
So you're gonna make one that's even crazier than a normal Tarrasque?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Make it. There's all sorts of creators out there that make cool things. Maybe you're one of them.
Well, kind of thinking about that, I'd recommend checking out the, so there's a zombie section of the monster manual, and you'll see there are some zombies of creatures that exist, like an ogre zombie or a beholder zombie. That can give you ideas on if a creature is brought back to life by necromancer, what exactly has changed about it. Sometimes it's not much.
Spooky, scary, scat. We're not Halloween anymore. I can't do that.
No, we're way past Halloween, man.
I don't know. It's Halloween somewhere.
That's not true at all.
I don't know about that.
It's not true at all.
You could run a campaign that's entirely Halloween.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just Ravenloft for you. That's just you're playing Christmas
Strahd. That's based off of there.
What?
In our campaign?
Yeah, you've been there.
I guess Chris Strahd.
Last campaign.
I've never played Strahd. I know who Aldon is, though.
Yeah, I mean, I did change a lot of it, and I cut out a lot of stuff.
I had no idea.
We probably played like a quarter.
I don't read, remember?
Yeah, Braxton can't read.
I have to get somebody to tell me about all of these things. I have to say, hey, can you read me the monster manual page by page? Yeah.
So I can introduce Braxton and all these cool things. Like, he hated Knowles before I told him about him.
But Ryan, what are we promising from here? What are we gonna do?
I think we should go into depth on some of these creatures, maybe.
Hex yeah. Start building out the dungeon crawl guide to monsters.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards kobolds, but there's a lot of options out there.
We could do kobolds. Definitely pick ones that are like gnolls or kobolds that can really flesh out your world.
Or we could choose ones that aren't easy to flesh out. That way people will decide to use them more often.
Hell yeah. Gotta give them value.
Well, those definitely exist. There's some creatures that are just, like I said, underutilized or utilized in the same way every time they're brought up.
Blights.
Blights suck, dude. Don't even.
If you ever want to piss Ryan off, just walk up to him and show him a picture of Blights.
Tell
him, I'm going to run Blights in my campaign.
Do it, and...
Ryan, do you want to play my campaign? It's about Blights.
Yeah, I'll come in and I'll chop them all down.
Good.
I'll be Kratos.
Oh, yeah, that's basically what those are, aren't they?
What?
What?
Those
you beat
are
that game.
I did beat that game. Yeah, it was pretty fun. The new God of War game. Yay.
I popped in once and I saw that you had the weapons he had from the old games. So I was like, what the hell?
What the hell?
They look so contrasted compared to all the Nordic stuff having those like Arabic weapons or whatever they were.
There's some cool stuff in that game.
Cool stuff.
I'm gonna start The Last of Us tonight, I think.
There's also some cool stuff in this monster manual, and y'all need to read it more.
Yeah. Same with the dungeon. Maybe we could do that next. Just talk about all the stuff that's not touched on in Dungeon Master's Guide, because there's some great stuff in there.
Good stuff.
Absolutely fantastic.
I'm Braxton.
I'm always Ryan.
This is the Dungeon Crawl. Go follow us at Dungeon Crawl Pod or email us at thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com if you have a question.
Starting to get into the social media sphere.
I post things sometimes.
He does post things.
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I had a viral post from the new concert.
Yeah, but no one replied to it. That's kind of sad.
Everybody retweeted it and stuff.
That's
true. You didn't reply. I
Well,
should have posted it from our thing, but I was like, this isn't deep.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
Take care. I'm your new social media
guru.
Guru, Braxton. That's Ryan.
Thanks
for listening to the beginning of the end.
Whoa, no. We're just getting started here,
Pod.
fellas. We're just getting started here. Brace yourselves, because we're going to come at you hard. We're going to come at you fast. We're going to come at you strong with some awesome episodes of some of the best stuff you'd ever want from a podcast.
Look forward to more on Earth Arcana next week.
No.